So I think we've been looking at discipline all wrong. I had an epiphany this morning and basically it was like this. I've always said that discipline starts where motivation ends, but I feel like maybe there's another step after that. So discipline is, for me anyway, is usually attached to effort. But what happens when discipline has been done for so long that the effort is no longer there? It becomes void and it becomes normal. And then it becomes difficult not to do the thing that was difficult to do at the start. And what happens when we look at this in terms of the tasks that are moving the needle for us as a creative business? So, for example, what happens when it actually becomes harder not to create that choreography as part of my daily routine, or paint that painting, or write a new lyric for a song, or come up with a whole song by itself, or design that new thing? Like, what happens when it's become so part of my daily lifestyle that it's actually harder not to do the thing? So I was thinking about it recently because I was reading a book called The Atomic Habits by James Clear. And I think all creatives need to read this book. It's phenomenal in a way that it designs out the things that you don't want to do and designs in the things that you do want to do by looking at 4 elements, right? So the first element is looking at the cue. And it's how to make that obvious. The second element is looking at the craving and how to make that attractive. The third element is looking at the ease and how to make it easy to do. And the fourth level is looking at the reward and how to make it satisfying. And if I was to break it down in terms of those 4, in terms of the creativeness, there's lots of ways you can do it. So the first one is the cue, making it obvious, right? So usually what it says is that there are certain things that trigger us into taking this habit, right? And so one of the things that is to get very clear on this, right? So that's how, one of the ways to make it obvious. So at so and so o'clock, I am going to do this here. So for example, when I wake up, I will do this. I will brush my teeth. I will do my workout, or I will write my thoughts into the phrasing of a song, or I will freestyle for 10 minutes. So some people might go to the gym. Me as a dancer, I might decide that my fitness is going to be based on training. So when I wake up, I will dance for 30 minutes straight, whatever that might be. That means that I can use a concept that I can play around with, what that is. Another way is to habit stack. So how can you look at what you already do and factor that into a way that can do a task that will actually move your business forward? So for example, if I need to learn more and I also travel, then I will say that I will listen into podcasts around my chosen craft by someone who I really revere while I'm traveling to work. Or if I am teaching, for example, I'm going to use that as part of my training. Or if I am a singer and I need to do some fitness, for example, to get myself ready for a tour, then I'm going to teach people as personal training while I'm doing the fitness that is getting me ready for my tour, right? And then the third one is prime your environment. So you're getting yourself ready in a way that it makes it almost impossible for you not to do the thing. An example of this is when I was trying to go to the gym, I would make sure that I always had my bag with me, which had everything in it for me to go to the gym, which meant that when I was on my way home, I had to get off the bus and be able to see the gym, which is right there. And so it was actually with myself, with all the stuff I needed in my bag. It made it a conscious decision for me not to go to the gym because of the environment. Another way is that I might have my my dumbbells or my press-up kits or whatever it might be on the living room floor, which I have to go past on my way to have breakfast, which means that if I see it, I need to do the press-ups. That's like a rule I might set for myself. Another way is if I'm a songwriter, for example, I might have a book next to my bed. Every morning, it's right there next to my bed. I'm just gonna write a couple of lines. It doesn't need to be like a whole song. Or if I'm a painter, I might say to myself, okay, I'm going to put my easel up. I'm gonna put everything ready the night before so that when I'm inspired, I'm literally ready to do that. The next one is looking at the cravings, making it attractive. So one of the things about habits is there's something that like pulls us to do this thing. So one of the things that you can look at is, how can I make it sexy? How can I make it desirable to want to do this thing? And one way to do that is looking at the bundles of temptation. So stacking it with something, I've mentioned it before. You can join social clubs, so there's like accountability in it as well, and also element of community. And you can also make it a ritual, right? So make it something that is or appealing, and something that gets you in the mood, right? So maybe there might be something which you can put before it to put you in the mood that will get you ready for it. So for example, if I want to train, for example, I might decide that I want to meet someone who is a dancer or beforehand, and we can train together. Or I might listen to a certain song to get me hyped and ready to go. That will be like my trigger as well. The next one is ease. Make it easy to do. So one of the things I've really learned, which has been a huge key for me recently, is just get your reps in. Do it repeatedly. Try and think to yourself, maybe I want to do things 100 times before I start to think about getting rid of it. And doing it for maybe people say like 90 days as an example of how long to do something before you getting it into your system. But if you really want to do something, think about it in terms of longevity. Don't think to yourself, I want to do it and in a week or so, whatever. You're not going to see results in a week. Let's be real about it. No matter what it is, you're not going to see results in a week. Try and think to yourself, you're thinking long term. And me as a coach, one of the things I've seen with some of our clients is actually getting them to frame things in a longer period of time. If you're just focused on making the habit or the task exciting, measurable, and you're wanting to do the task, then it doesn't matter about the duration. But to get yourself into the habit, you need to think about it in terms of, is this something that I can maintain for like a year? If it's something you can maintain for a year, then you can go the full whack with it. Also, another thing is to get rid of things that might slow you down in terms of doing that, right? So if there's anything that makes it kind of difficult to do, if there's something that gives it kind of like a barrier, try and get rid of those things beforehand. If you need to get child support, make sure you have that in place beforehand. If you need to create a space in your weekly schedule, curate your week beforehand with this in mind, and don't try and just fit it into the gaps, actually factor it in as part of your daily schedule that you need to do, right? The next one is looking at the reward, how to make it satisfying. So when you do it like a loyalty program, if I do this for 5 weeks, I do this as a result, and it's got to be something you want to do. So for example, I can say to myself, okay, I want to go to this party, but I'm only going to go to this party if I manage to do it every day for the next 3 weeks, right? So that might be you writing your songs, that might be you creating work, it might be you doing that application for funding, it might be whatever it might be. But the idea is that you reward yourself at the end of it, right? The next one is to measure your progress. They say nothing measured is not gained, or something like that, right? So measure your progress. Say that these are the milestones, I'm meeting those, and these are the results that I'm getting as a result. When you can see the results happening, it gives you more motivation to keep going, right? And the next one is to gamify your process. So make it fun, get involved with other people who are doing the same kind of thing. Make it so that you can say to yourself, okay, these are milestones, like I've mentioned that before, like checkpoints. You can do it so that, one of the things that is making Duolingo, for example, so good is that they've gamified the process of learning a new language. So you have daily rituals, you have specific targets, you have tests, you have different ways of learning. So there's like multiple choice, there's like speaking, there's listening, there's all kinds of different ways you can do that. Think about your craft and think about how you can gamify the process of doing these activities that will move the needle. And one of the things that's really important about moving the needle is actually moving the needle, is knowing what you're moving towards, okay? So if I'm, for example, as a dancer and I'm doing social media, for example, but it's not getting me clients, it's not getting me classes, it's not filling up the class, it's not getting me new venues that I can work with, then it's not moving the needle. And so I need to think about what I'm actually doing and making sure that it is something that's getting the results I'm looking for. So if there's any more ideas that you can think of, let me know in the comments. So just to recap, we're talking about discipline, right? And the idea that discipline starts at the end of motivation, but then there's the element of habits that you can create around the discipline to make sure that it will get to a point where what was difficult to start is now difficult not to do. And at that point, it becomes the norm. And that's where we want to get to with the tasks that actually move our creative business forward. And when I say creative business, I'm talking about you, because you are the person who is doing the art. You're the one who's singing. You're the one who's dancing. You're the one who's creating shows for stage and theater. You're the one who's creating that film, right? So you are the business, and it becomes, your business will grow exponentially when you are able to get to a point where it makes it difficult not to do the things that move your business forward. Any ideas, put it in the comments. And if you haven't followed, click that follow button, subscribe.